My name is Darla Drew, and I'm the president of Backroom Productions. This is called Don't Miss This. It's a video production we do through Backroom, and we do get funding, a little bit of help from the South Dakota Arts Council, the Rapid City Subsidy for the Arts that's distributed by the Rapid City Arts Council, and also the NEA through Arts Midwest. So, housekeeping done, we're going to get to our first guest. We try to cover interesting people and musicians, artists, those kinds of things on this show. And today we're going to be talking to Josh Simpson. He's a guitarist that I really have just met. I don't know much about Josh, so we'll be learning together. So, hello, Joshua.
Hello.
Hi. I got to know you during Guitar Masters. I think that's my first interaction with you. Yeah? Yeah. So, this is Josh's first interview with us, so I'm going to just kind of be leading him through some of this. So tell us a little bit about your background with the guitar playing, how you got interested, how you got, I don't know, what your first influences were.
Yeah, in middle school, I was on the football team as like the tight end. I'm not a very prodigious sized fellow, so I kind of realized there was no future in that field. And around that time, maybe when I'm like 12 or 13, sort of start getting turned on to like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and stuff. And I had a friend who played drums, and so it was like, oh, he plays drums. Well, then I gotta play guitar, right?
Yeah.
I can't sing. So I took that up, and here we are a decade later.
So, okay, a lot of guys or gals who play guitar say things like, I took up guitar. It's really not that easy. So, how'd you start? Did you just watch videos? I mean, you're a younger person, so I don't know how, when we started bands, we just listened to the records and tried to play it as closely as possible, whatever. But how did you actually get to, what kind of guitar did you have at first?
Yeah.
How'd you start?
I had this kind of cheap Squire copy, so like kind of the replica of Strat and a replica of the replica. I've never been one for like super formalized education methods.
Okay.
It's very un-rock and roll. I think that's part of
Absolutely.
part of my problem with like classical music and jazz music is that it's very formalized, where I think when it was created initially, this rote nature of it was not ingrained.
Yeah.
So like I've taken lessons, but generally, try to do things at my own pace. I've been trying to take up like classical guitar and growing out my nails
really?
to get to do that for the Renaissance Fair. And I've got this book that I've owned for 8 years or whatever, and every time I try and pick up classical guitar, and I think part of my problem with it is the instruction methods, like, you use your thumb for the lowest 3 strings, use these 3 for the higher.
Okay.
When you're arpeggiating, it makes sense to me why you would do, but the algorithm for like why you should do index, middle, or ring finger is not as intuitive, just like looking at the way they instruct it in the manual. I guess it seems like kind of random why they do it. So I guess that's the thing. Like I just do whatever is most effective. That sound is king. Yeah. Instruction, throw it out, do whatever works best.
So rock and roll made sense to you.
Yeah.
So when you picked it up, you just mainly played by yourself, practiced by yourself, or you practiced with your drumming friend, or how did that transpire?
I think, in hindsight, I'd like to talk about and minimize it, like, just grab a metronome and do it, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that was basically like all of high school, was like, learning these songs and practicing them. But it wasn't practice. Like practice, because I played tuba in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting, okay.
Yeah, I did all-state band senior year. That was like practice, because you have to take it home, and you have like this music, and you've got an accompanist. And you're like, oh man, I'm going to spend a half an hour like working on this, and it's agonizing. It was never that way for guitar for me. Like, it's just something you do. It's just, like you want to do it. It's not like, it's not an effort. It's not an effortful thing.
It's not a have to, it's a want to.
Yeah, or I don't even like consciously register that I want to. I just do it, right? Yeah.
That's amazing because you're so good. I would think that would take a lot of time. And at the end of this this conversation, I'm going to have a clip of Josh from Guitar Masters, so you guys will get to hear him play because he's He's incredible. And the sources that he references, like Black Sabbath, when you're talking about like Randy Rhoads, is that who you're talking about?
Well, yeah, he was an Aussie, but yeah, same idea.
Yeah, yeah. And who else? For my generation, certainly it was Jimmy Page and who was Richie Blackmore and those kinds of people. So who was your influences?
So I've always been like an antiquarian, not intentionally, but because I was in my parents' basement practicing these licks all the time, I'm not like socializing that much with like kids my age.
Yeah.
So I'm not being exposed to like a lot of popular music. I'm just like on the internet, and that kind of, in a sense, democratizes or breaks down the barrier of time.
I like that.
So I guess that's why, for me, like Black Sabbath is still new and fresh and doesn't feel antiquated, because when I'm 12, it's like,
this is new.
Yeah, this is new music. Like, it doesn't matter if it came out. So yeah, like Randy Rhoads and Yngwie and stuff. That's new to me.
I got to see Yngwie Malmsteen play.
Really?
I did. I was at a NAMM show, a National Music Marketers Show, and he was in a booth displaying a new type of guitar. And so, yeah, I knew who he was. The people there knew who he was. But outside of, the guitar circles, a lot of people don't know about Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
Is he Swedish? Is that what he is?
Yeah, he's a Swedish guy.
Yeah, and incredible with the harder rock stuff. So when I did hear you play, yeah, you were definitely influenced by a lot of that older stuff. How about now? I know you're, did you play in bands when you were in high school then?
Yeah, I think there's a natural progression that like a lot of guitar players go to in their education. And a lot of the people who are still playing as adults, either professionally or semi-professionally, I feel like you could find similar instances where in like high school, if you're starting a band, you're probably like the best one of the group,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so you've kind of got to like rope your friends in. Like my drummer, he's got some chops,
Okay.
but the other two guys, you're like, hey, this would be so much fun. You should totally sing in our band.
Learn how to play bass.
So you played choir once. You played cello like for a year. Yeah, you're in the band, man. But actually, like, group wasn't very good. Like in hindsight now, but it had like passion, right?
Yeah, right.
It was.
What were you called? I loved the beginning band names.
It was great. It was called Fire to the Masses. We played like hard rock and metal stuff. And
okay, all right.
Just the dudes, right?
Right.
Just the boys.
And where'd you practice? Did your parents allow that in your basement?
So actually, because we all went to Stevens, the singer like lived a few blocks down from here, and we practiced in their garage, and sometimes the drummer's basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's pretty epic.
It's loud. It's loud. My parents were very liberal with their children, and two of my brothers are in rock bands too. And we all practiced in the basement of our parents' home. So at any time from probably 1968 or 69 right up to 1983 when I started Dee and the Pharaohs, we started in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
And luckily they were very generous and they liked their kids, actually. Some parents don't like their kids playing in the basement, but it was loud and it was the place to be. And even when I started Dee and the Pharaohs, which was in 83, there was a guy in the band that said, well, we got to practice in your parents' basement because that's the lucky basement. Musicians do have their little oddities and suspicions, what have you. Do you have any thing that you do particularly before you go on stage?
Do
you get ready?
It depends on what the group is, or like if it's a group where I'm like the band leader, I'll probably do like some kind of pep talk.
Okay.
But if it's a band where I'm like a hired gun, just trying to like look good, I don't know, I might curl some weights or something, or
yeah. Okay. That's certainly something that we never did. Back in the 70s and 80s, that was never really a thought process of looking buff. We tried to be sober, I think, was our biggest accomplishment. However, so Fire to the Masses played for a while and played around. And did you ever get out of town with that band, or was it mainly around town?
I played like in Custer a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But within 40 miles.
Yeah, true. That's a good kind of reference way to work your band, because we played really far away and travel all night, and that just isn't a very safe thing. But regardless, so now I saw recently you graduated from the School of Mines, so I'm thinking that right after high school you went to college?
Yeah, so a lot of my family members had gone to mines or various institutes for mainly mechanical, but some other kinds of engineering. So at the time when I graduated, I had pretty good grades. And I'd considered going to like music school or doing something else. It just didn't seem very rock and roll. Like I couldn't think of, you know what I mean? Like it's in like the Bible. God goes to Lot and he says, find 10 men who have a music degree who are like super awesome guitar players. And I couldn't do it. It just was impossible. So I was like, well, might as well get the engineering thing if I can do it. And rock and roll doesn't need no education.
So the engineering degree is in what?
Oh, it's in mechanical engineering. The very basic one.
Okay, all right. But you've been playing in a band while you went to school, which, is, I think, an accomplishment because it takes a lot of time. It takes practice. You have to get together with people that aren't always going to be on time or, maybe you've been lucky in that respect. But So after high school, did you just hang out in bands for a while or did you quit? Or, I know you're now in Stereo Trip, but I want to see how you got there.
So at first, before I went to School of Mines, I went to Colorado State for a year, so I moved away.
Okay.
And the band, kind of inevitably breaks up. We did some more gigs when we got back together, but so I'm there and kind of playing a little bit in groups, but you're pretty young, so it's tough kind of playing with adults. There's some scary folks occasionally.
Sometimes.
The first band I got into in Colorado, was a very needlessly cutthroat band. This guy, this bass player, was fucking crazy, man. Forgive my language.
It's okay.
So I can't trust people who conspire against others. So they kicked their singer out and they put me in, and then I'm kicked out the next week. It was that kind of group. Oh man.
Ick.
Yeah. So when I came back, I don't know, I was hanging out for a while, and then, Rowan, Deanne, and Weston were playing together, and they needed a bass player. So I'm like, well, I play guitar, but I'm not doing anything. So
what was the names again? Rowan?
Yeah, Rowan.
Rowan Grace?
Yeah.
Okay, so, for those of you who are listening, if you don't know, Rowan Grace was on
The Voice.
American Idol.
The Voice, yeah.
The Voice, okay. And I did see her, okay, I watched it, and she's very talented, and so he was in one of his first bands with her. We all have to come from somewhere, actually, and have some practice. So Rowan and Diane was in your first band?
Yeah, Davey was playing guitar.
Oh, cool. And he's a bass player that is just phenomenal. But he was playing guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so who was the bass player?
I was a bass player. I know.
Okay.
I know. It didn't. The problem is not playing bass. Playing bass is cool, right? Especially if you're playing R&B music or whatever, right? The problem is being the bass player, right? There's a key distinction here, right? In the expectations, the social contract of how the singer is expected to act, the guitar player and the bass player. I don't like being the bass player. I just don't have the temperament for it.
It's true, you guys. It's so true, and it's something that band people really know. And maybe if you're just close to band people, But a true bass player is a different kind of person.
Yeah, they glue.
They are, and they almost want to be in the background, but they're almost playing lead guitar all the time too. So it takes a special person to have that rhythmic kind of discipline and to be able to take that role and really drive the band.
Yeah.
It's hard, and unfortunately, what happens is a lot of times in bands that I was in, the guys that couldn't hack it as a guitar player ended up as a bass player, and they didn't want to be the bass player. So that surprises me. Okay, because I'm going to do an interview with Diami too. And, do I have his name right? Am I saying?
Well, it's Diami.
Diami.
I know it's spelled D-Y, but Diami.
Diami. Okay, I got that now. Okay, so you're playing with those guys for a while around here. Okay, gotta ask. What was the name of the band?
It was called RGB, which is the Rowan Grace band.
Okay.
And I went through a few evolutions, kind of. All bands have their great sagas and their ups and downs.
Oh, yes.
So I played with her in a few different iterations for a couple of years, and I feel like I do one-offs. There's a lot of bands I've played with less than 3 gigs,
Okay.
If we're talking about like bands I've played in, I feel like it'd be like one hand. If I included all the groups I've done like a show or two, it'd be like 20.
I get it. I get it. I really get it. Yeah, I've been in 4, so I get it. But the last one lasted for 35 years.
Hey, that's a good one. Okay.
Oh, I didn't. I had no idea. But now you're in a band called Stereo Trip with some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Of course, Margie Gruba, and I love her. She was with the Family Affair, the Rash Family Band. Maybe she wasn't in Family Affair, but definitely Dustin Rocks. And she's the lead singer. She's fantastic. But you have other people that sing in the band. And tell me a little bit about how that evolved. Were you the first person in the band, or what was?
So I guess I've had like kind of an on-off relationship with Stereo Trip for a couple years. They've had like, you know, in Spinal Tap, it's like the drummer keeps dying, and they have to get a new guy. For them, it was like their guitar player and bass player, so they like
Kept leaving.
And so I've done like a little thing with them, but a year goes by because I'm doing my thing with Rowan. And then they lost their guitar player and bass player in great dramatics, as are necessitated by the dictates of band culture. So they needed some new guys, and Josh Marquis, who's playing guitar with me in that group and doing like percussion and singing as well, was like, hey, you should join this group and play it. And then through some stuff, eventually it ended up that you know, me and Josh play guitar and DMT plays bass, and hooked up with them. So.
And Josh Marquis is very interesting too. Just have to tell you an aside on this. I saw him one time, and I think it was at Guitar Masters. I think I had him for Guitar Masters, and he did Bohemian Rhapsody by himself.
That's awesome.
It was hilarious and awesome at the same time. And I just was going, that's amazing. So yeah, he did that. He's in Stereo Trip with you. Huh?
Yeah, that's great.
And so what have you guys got coming up for the summer? Are you gonna play a lot, or you're?
I think we've got quite a few. Like we're playing at Murphy's in a couple of weeks, and probably play at, I don't know. They just give me the dates. Go play.
The park.
Yeah, park and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing any outside things? Do you know?
I think we're playing Spearfish downtown, kind of third week of June, and
they have a summer nights equivalent there, yes, and yeah, it's a good gig. It's a fun place to play, and it's a nice town, and they do a good job there, and I think they do the sound for you.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. That's the worst part. That's the thing that like eats the budget, guys. Like if you're like, oh, they've got a $3,000 guarantee, but we got to drive 10 hours, and we have to bring our own sound guy. That's the killer, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that I had realized at an early age. I started in bands at 18, and they were full-time bands then, because you could get gigs in Kansas, and you just go out and play for months on end during the summer. However, I kind of realized that girl singers are not hard to find. However, a girl singer with her own PA and lights and van were pretty hard to find. And then I started a booking agency. So yeah, I made myself very indispensable as the girl singer.
I heard that's how David Lee Roth got into Van Halen. He owned a PA that they were like borrowing, and they just needed them. That's
right. I have heard that story. And for me, it's true. I mean, you know, you can go through a lot of different players, but if there's that one person that owns everything, it was my band.
Yeah, you can't kick off the guy at the PA, right?
That's right. And the van, in those days we just all owned the van and traveled together because we traveled a lot. But so you've got an exciting summer coming up.
Yeah.
And a fresh new graduate. Do you think that I hope you'll stay in Rapid City, but I wonder if you're looking to other venue or other cities to expand your career.
I think there are always difficulties in such matters. There's not a ton of industry in Rapid.
It's true. It's tough.
Yeah. If I can, I will, but I've got to be open-minded in these regards to explore.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
We decided to be happy making it in the middle.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have to be famous, but we had to have a steady gig and probably jobs. You know, so we, Don and I, and when I say we, Don was a guitar player in our band for 30 years. But, you know, we wanted to have kids and family and all that stuff, and we wanted to be here, but that doesn't work out for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some travel. And to mesh your career and your art, That will probably be tricky for you. How do you see that playing out?
I feel, like in high school I took lots of AP classes, and in college, you do the engineering thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, like, I've never canceled on a gig because I was sick or because I had too much work. That's not something that like comes to mind.
just
It's like
can't
you just
do
gotta do it. Like,
Yeah.
it goes without saying. And so, a lot of like engineers might be on like camp teams, which are sort of like applied, like you make a car, or if you're a civil engineer, you make a concrete canoe or something.
Yeah.
I think for me, like my camp teams was playing in bands. Like that's what I spent my time doing. I don't know. I can't like imagine me not playing in groups or figuring out some way to do it.
Playing in bands is kind of like, I don't know. The only thing I can compare it to is almost military.
Yeah.
Because you become a family and you become very close in a very short amount of time because you depend so much on each other.
Yeah.
One of the other things I really enjoyed about playing, and I think you might have felt this too, you can expand on it if you'd like to, but it's almost the mind meld thing that you have with other people. You almost know what they're going to do before they do it.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible sensation when you really get there, and you're really plugged into each other.
Well, I totally agree. I think the romanticism about like different genres of music, you can see like the vocabulary that is stuck, that like we refer to something as like a band, right?
Yeah.
But like the band concept of, the 60s forward like pop rock group, we retroactively, apply to other things.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah,
it's great, if you're all friends and play anything.
And you might not all be friends, but you still have to make it work. And that's part of, I don't know, it's just a really good skill set that you end up with out of being in a band. And so congratulations on your graduation.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your career. And I hope to be able to see you this summer playing somewhere. I get out every once in a while still, but it was really a pleasure to have you in Guitar Masters. What did you like about playing in that show?
I thought that was a really like diverse lineup. I guess that's what I appreciated. I'd gone to the year before, which is also very good. But this year having like Tom and Dylan, who are, more on the, bluegrass, acoustic, sort of country folk side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Jamie, who's like very, funk and R&B oriented, and me, who was gonna like be very indulgent and do like kind of my like 80s shred thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the juxtaposition was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I always try to do that. Guitar Masters is a four-man show usually. I hope to find more women in the future, but and usually I try to get diverse styles, and this year really did kind of hit on that. We had a great crowd. It was down at the Doll Theater, and the sound was good. And
it was all Don.
Yeah, Donna, my husband, ran the sound, and it worked out so well, and it was so fun. And now you'll just always be forever a guitar master. You know that?
Woohoo!